One, it's really good, and two, I want you guys to see the kind of stuff that you're missing out on if you don't give us money, give us money, give us money.
Give us money.
I'm gonna do that again. Kia ora koutou and welcome to Experience Bar, where we're turning video games into cocktails. My name is Jack and I'll be your bartender for this evening, so I show you how to make a drink that even a vampire could get addicted to. Redwater Skooma from Skyrim. Let's get started. If you thought skooma was addictive, you clearly haven't tried Redwater Skooma. Now we've made skooma on this program. We've made skooma on this channel before, and people seem to like it quite a lot, so I was excited to return to a variation of it. But Redwater Skooma seems to be in a league of its own. It was introduced in the Dawnguard DLC as part of the Bloodstone Chalice quest for the Harken vampires, if you choose to take on their gift. You are tasked with retrieving this Bloodstone Chalice filled with blood from the blood spring, but along the way you discover this Redwater Skooma stuff, which is apparently the most addictive thing outside of, well, blood itself for vampires. For mortals it's even worse. So here's how you make it at home, or at least my interpretation of it. First, you are going to need a mixing glass. No ice just yet. We're going to start off with a sugar cube. This is our moon sugar, because this is still skooma mixed with some extra ingredients that we'll come to in a minute. And to that we are going to add a couple of dashes of Peychaud's bitters. Now, it being Redwater, of course I had to kind of go with something red, but I also quite like Peychaud's in this drink because it adds this lovely licorice flavor. Not super dominant, but it's got this nice baseline to it. And we are going to muddle it. Ooh. I think I've put a bit more than a few dashes of Peychaud's in here, but oh well, it'll be fine. If you don't have sugar cubes, I know some people do actually have a bit of trouble finding them. That includes me. Surprisingly hard thing to get. You can just use simple syrup instead. I'll put the recipe for a simple syrup replacement in the description below. Next, you are going to add 1.5 ounces of bourbon. In our original recipe for skooma, we used rum because I wanted to make it it's from the Khajiit homeland and it's supposed to be fruity. This one, however, I wanted to make it a little bit more dark. So I've substituted our nice fruity rum for a nice dark bourbon instead. Next, we are adding 3/4 ounce of Campari. Now, normally I wouldn't double up on the bitter ingredients because Campari is quite bitter, and we've already got some Peychaud's bitters in there, but Peychaud's bitters isn't really super bitter to me. And the Campari in there, again, is to get us onto that red for the Redwater Skooma, and I think it balances out the sweet side of the sugar cube and our next ingredient, which is 3/4 ounce of ruby port. I wouldn't recommend using tawny port for this. Do definitely use ruby, because one, again, color, Redwater Skooma, and also tawny port to me tends to have a slightly more raisiny flavor, which throws everything off. The ruby port, not so much. So use that if you can. You don't have to use the super fancy one like I have. This is going to a cocktail, so you don't have to worry about it too much. You're not drinking it straight, but do try and use, the second cheapest port, not the absolute cheapest, because that's gonna ruin your whole drink. Now, we're gonna add our ice, and then we are going to give it a stir. Like most drinks, I recommend stirring for 25 to 30 seconds. And don't worry if not all of your sugar dissolves. This is one of the reasons why I sometimes prefer to use simple syrup, because it doesn't dissolve in a cold environment like we're adding here, even if we agitate it through the stirring. But you don't have to worry about it too much. Just so long as it gets a little bit of that sweetness in there, it should be fine. You can also build this drink directly into the glass like you would an old-fashioned. So you have your rocks glass, and you pop your sugar cube in there, do the dashes, muddle it, and then add the rest of your ingredients, and then give it a little bit of a stir. But for this one, I wanted to put it into a different glass than a rocks glass. You can't muddle in this particular glass that we're going to use. Speaking of which, we're going to grab our Bloodstone Chalice and we're going to double strain it. Don't normally need to double strain a stirred drink, but I just like to because it's out of habit. There we go. A little bit left over, something for the crew. And we are going to garnish it with an orange. Now you might be tempted, this being a vampiric beverage, to garnish it with something red or rim it with some grenadine or something like that, and I did try all of those, but honestly the orange peel, the smell matches up a lot better, And you don't really want to double up red with red. You want something a little bit of a splash of color. We're just gonna pop that right there. And that is Redwater Skooma. But these drinks don't happen without some serious support from our community, so I want to say thank you to all of our patrons who help make these drinks happen, in particular Julian Davidge. Cheers for the drink. Now that is a very addictive Moorish drink. Okay, so Redwater Skooma. This recipe is actually one that I've been working on for a little while, and that's because this is one of the recipes coming up in our Skyrim recipe book, which is exclusive to our $3 patrons and above. I'm revealing this one, despite it usually being a patron exclusive, because one, it's really good, and two, I want you guys to see the kind of stuff that you're missing out on if you don't give us money, give us money, give us money. I'm gonna do that again. But I wanted to show this to you guys because this is a damn tasty and addictive drink. Redwater Skooma, while in the quest that we're given, we're never told explicitly what goes into it other than skooma and the waters of the blood spring, the Redwater side of things. But I've taken a little bit of creative license here, taking a little bit of inspiration from our original skooma drink and then basically changing it completely to make it a little bit more vampiric. So this drink is supposed to be more than anything incredibly addictive. It doesn't give you the same benefits, the same high apparently as skooma does or any other drug. It just makes you incredibly sick, and it forces you to need more. Very handy stuff for vampires. If there's one thing better than having a willing victim, it's a willing victim that has to come to you for the thing that it needs. It basically resolves all of your food problems, at least according to the journals that you find in the Redwater Den. For this version, I've decided to go with something a little bit close to a Negroni, but also mixed with a Manhattan. Those are my two favorite drinks. They're the drinks that you could say that I'm pretty addicted to. So I'm always making them. They're always so tasty and so simple. So I decided to do my own twist using Skyrim as well as a bit of inspiration. But yeah, that's the Redwater Skooma from Skyrim. Thank you so much for joining me. I've been Jack Stone. This has been Experience Bar. If you've enjoyed what you've seen here today, let us know in the comments below. Leave us a suggestion, drop us a like, give us a subscribe, and don't forget to press the bell to keep up with all of our content. And if you want to see more Skyrim drinks like these, consider heading over to our Patreon and becoming a patron. On YouTube, we're creating new content every couple of weeks, so I hope to see you then. But until then, cheers.